Steve Witherden, the Labour candidate for Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr. Nice to catch up with you here in Welshpool. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm Steve Witherden. I'm 43. I live in Acrevaya, a village in the north of our constituency. I'm a secondary school teacher by trade and also an elected trade union executive member.
It's generally been a two-horse race here in Montgomeryshire, if you don't mind me saying, between the Lib Dems and Conservatives over the past century, really. With the inclusion now of the Glyndwr area, how confident are Labour of making an impact on this election?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question, because I think the introduction of Glyndwr with Montgomeryshire, these 13 wards of South and West Wrexham County Borough, is going to be absolutely massive. It's going to be really, really significant in the election. These are Labour-leaning wards. They're Labour-leaning wards. If you look at the county council representation, they return 14 councillors to Wrexham Council. There's a lot of independents in there, as there are in Powys, but if you look at party political representation, it's 17% Conservative, 0% Plaid, 0% Liberal, 83% Labour. So very, very clear that these are Labour-leaning wards, and they're going to have huge implications for the result.
What are you hearing on the doorsteps of Montgomeryshire, for example, in Newtown and the Welshpool areas?
Yeah, the Labour vote here is just growing and growing. A very good example of this would be Welshpool having just elected their first ever Labour deputy mayor, Look, there's an awful lot of anger out there. When you knock on the doors, there's an awful lot of anger against the Conservatives. These people partied while we were in lockdown. These people gave, PPE contracts to their mates who had no background in, providing that kind of healthcare equipment, and they had to go in the bin because it was rubbish for nurses. People talk a lot about the Queen being sat there at her husband's funeral on her own, and there's a real rage. There really is real anger here against the Conservatives, and they're very often asking us who is the tactical vote, and we are now the tactical vote. We are now very much the tactical vote with the introduction of those 13 wards in Wrexham.
There's been a lot of talk about wealth creation. Sir Keir Starmer talks a lot about it, which is about improving living standards for working people. Tell us a little more about that.
Well, there's several policies that address that, the creation of a wealth fund. But one of the ones I'm most interested in is the New Deal for working people, which will see the banning of exploitative 0 hours contracts, the banning of fire and rehire. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a voter who was on a 0 hours contract, and he was desperately trying to buy a car, and he couldn't get a car because the HP company, said you're on a 0 hours contract, we can't look at you. So little things like that, they might seem little to some people, but 0 hours contracts, ending fire and rehire, they will have a massive effect on the lives of people in and around the constituency.
Locally, we have a bit of a housing shortage. In fact, a big housing shortage. It's one of the big issues at county council level and Welsh government level. Labour said they want to build 300,000 houses a year, 1.5 million over the time of the period. Now, is that feasible? Can it be done? It's double what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think it can be done. So yeah, that's in the manifesto. 1.5 million new homes, and there will be reform, to planning rules. But it's something we desperately need. I'm speaking to young people in Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr all the time who are saying, I'm not going to be able to get onto the housing market until I'm in my 40s, if I'm lucky. And it's not just people who want to get onto the housing market. If you're looking to rent, if you're on a waiting list for social housing, this is a massive crisis for people. So I think it really is something we desperately need to address. And that part of the manifesto does speak to that. So, the sooner we are able to put that into practice, the better.
The NHS is another big talking point. In Wales, the Conservative Party and the Lib Dems and Plaid will point to how the NHS is perceived to have been badly run in Wales, if you like, and yet Sir Keir sees this as a big national vote winner. How can you win over the local voters on what Labour would do for the NHS?
Well, I think when we hear stories like that, I think it's very important that we speak about our positive record here with the NHS in Wales. Long waits are down 70% since their peak in March 2022. We have free hospital parking, which they don't have in England. We have free prescriptions, and in relation to the A&E 4-hour wait target, Wales was better than England in 15 out of the last 20 months. So I do think that there are a lot of myths out there, but the NHS is creaking at the seams all around the UK, desperately needs more investment. Mental health is something I'm talking about a lot with people. I think a lot of people don't see mental health. It's tragically, really, they don't see mental health. They don't seem to take it as seriously as if someone's broken their leg or something, and it blights our society so much. So one of the Labour policies is to recruit 8,500 new mental health workers, and I think that'll make a huge difference in well-being in the community and maybe helping some people get back into work.
Finally, I've got what's called the elevator pitch, and we get in the lift in the first floor, and we're going up to the 10th floor. You tell me that you're the Labour candidate for Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr. How can you convince me in 30 seconds to vote for you?
Well, yeah, like I say, we've got some really, really popular policies on the doorstep. The Green New Deal, one we haven't spoken about much this afternoon, but New Deal for working people, which we've also we have spoken about. And also we've spoken about the tactical vote. If people want to get the Conservatives out, we are the tactical vote. By the end of the coming weekend, our team will have pretty much knocked every door in Glyndwr. And our vote is very, very solid up there. The Labour vote is absolutely massive. So we are the tactical vote, and that would be my pitch to the voters of Montgomeryshire and Glyndwr if they weren't aware of our brilliant policies.